Good evening, everyone. This is Drum Singh Horticulture Foundation webinar series 2 talk first. I would like to invite Dr. Brahma Singh.
Thanks, Mr. Shiv. Dear friends, hearty welcome to this new series, number 2 of Drum Singh Horticulture Foundation webinar entitled Futuristic Farming of Flowers and Foliage. Futuristic Farming of Flowers and Foliage, which would be by and large on every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Friends, though COVID-19 has taken heavy toll on floriculture due to ban on public and family functions, closing down public places, check on celebrations and a number of other things. But floriculture is very important sector from social, economical, and environment point of view and can't wait to flourish again. We at BSHF would try to contribute in promotion of floriculture sector with the help of you all. Today, the 4th November 2020 is an important day, being a festival day. Here in North India, we call it a Karwa Chauth. Very important function. Badhai for that. Secondly, Professor Brahm Singh Horticulture Foundation has completed 1 year or first year of its establishment today. During this 1 year, the foundation has organized several webinars on horticulture, established Horticulture Development Center at Leh, besides helped IES University Bhopal in starting BSc Honors AG course and helping Planning and Development Board of Union Territory Ladakh, and it is promoting sea buckthorn, the layberry, for commercial utilization in the country. BSHF has started standardization of home scale hydroponics. Now, coming to the webinar today, the topic is New Age Chrysanthemum Cultivation and Uses. New Age Chrysanthemum Cultivation and Uses. The speaker is Dr. K.V. Prasad, Director, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, Directorate of Floriculture Research, Pune. He would be introduced by the moderator, Dr. T. Jankiram, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dr. Y.S.R. Horticulture University, Venkataraman Guttam, District West Godavari, Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Jankiram is well-known horticulture scientist. He is ISOH PURASKAR awardee and former Assistant Director General Horticulture, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, New Delhi, and had Division of Floriculture and Landscaping, IARI, New Delhi. I request Dr. T. Jankiram ji to take over. Dr. Jankiram.
Good evening, everybody. At the outset, Namaskar, Dr. Brahm Singh Saab. And also, I would like to congratulate Padma Shri Dr. Brahm Singh ji for completion of the BSHF and its commitment towards scientific and farming community. I know many activities were organized under this umbrella, especially for the nurserymen and also the high-tech farmers. Today, I am very fortunate to act as moderator for the very unique series on futuristic form of flowers and greens. Friends, as we know, these days the COVID-19 situation has really changed the world, and also we are having a series of webinars through online on various issues and topics. And I feel this is the one of the very special webinar when we are talking about the Atmanirbharta, then local, vocal, self-sustaining, self-employment, women empowerment. I think floriculture is the one subject that supports these issues. And today, this series starts with one of the very eminent scientists, my colleague and friend, whom I know for the past 25 years and worked together. And he is now presently director of ICR, Directorate of Floriculture Research, Dr. K.V. Prasad. Dr. K.V. Prasad, he graduated from Andhra Pradesh Agricultural University, and he has doctorate in horticulture from the very prestigious and premier agriculture university institute, that is Indian Agriculture Research Institute. He also worked at Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, which is again a premier institute for horticulture sciences. And also he worked as senior scientist, as principal scientist, and also first professor of the newly created discipline of floriculture and landscaping at IRA. And he got selected as director of the ICR Directorate of Floricultural Research at Pune during October 2015. He has many credentials, but of course, taking the time into consideration, I would be happy to highlight some of his credentials. He is very instrumental in developing 7 chrysanthemum varieties, 6 rose varieties, besides unique fragrant anthurium while serving at IHR. He is also instrumental in developing the dust test methodology for rose and chrysanthemum for the first time in the country, which offers the plant breeders' rights. And he also developed technology for in vitro direct regeneration from the ray florets of chrysanthemums, which has yielded one of the best varieties in chrysanthemum. And he also, as a teacher, and taught many courses in floriculture at IRI, and he also acted as chairman of many MSc and PhD students. He is also instrumental in developing 3 new courses, and in number he guided 4 MSc and 7 PhD students. And he is also actively involved in preparation of the EFC memo of the Directorate of Floriculture Research. And as a director ICAR-DFR, he is in the process of creating required research, administrative and field infrastructure at its headquarters in Pune, and also regional station in Kadiyam, Andhra Pradesh, where we are, our university is located next door. We are at Venkatraman Gudem. And definitely under his leadership and new initiatives, like, nutraceuticals, the virus diagnostics, molecular characterization, gadgets and tools for the floriculture crops, vertical farming, new potting media. Definitely, they were the new initiatives. And Dr. Prasad is a recipient of some of the very prestigious awards, like Dr. B.P. Paul Gold Medal for the year 2009 and from IRA, and he is also recipient of Gold Medal in Floriculture from the Horticulture Society of India in 2012. And he got 5 Best Research Paper Awards, and he is also Fellow of the Horticulture Society of India, Indian Society of Ornamental Horticulture, and Confederation of Horticulture Associations of India for outstanding contributions in the field of ornamental horticulture. So with this few lines of the introduction about the eminent scientist, Dr. K.V. Prasad, who will be delivering today's topic on the chrysanthemum, and definitely we all will be benefited from his presentation. And today also in Andhra Pradesh, it is the festival day. It is Karwa Chauth in north, and here it is celebrated as Atlatadi. So it's really a very great day and very auspicious day. And I really thank Padma Shri Dr. Brahm Singh Saab, who is always guiding force, especially to the youth, for taking up the horticulture and organizing this special series of futuristic farming of florical flowers and also the greens. And with these few words, I pass on to Dr. K.V. Prasad, Director ICAR-DFR. Thank you very much.
Respected Padma Shri Dr. Brahm Singh Sir, very distinguished Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. T. JANKIRAM, and a very distinguished audience from across the country who have joined in this webinar series. I feel honored and humbled to be invited by Dr. Brahm Singh Sir to be the first speaker of the new series that he has launched. He is known for his active involvement in promotion of horticulture, and in this endeavor, it is one of the new initiatives that he has taken to promote floriculture in these testing times. So with the permission of all, let me share my screen. Hope it is visible, sir.
It's okay.
Yeah. I take this opportunity to cordially welcome you all to wish virtually to ICAR Directorate of Floriculture Research, which is located in Pune. This organization came into being in 2009 by upgrading the ACRP on floriculture, which was operating at New Delhi, and we got relocated in 2014. As mentioned by Dr. JANKIRAM, I joined in 2015, and then from then we are developing the required infrastructure that is required for a new budding institution like Directorate of Floriculture Research. I'll be talking about the new age chrysanthemum cultivation. Chrysanthemum is part of the whole gamut of floriculture. And again, floriculture is part of the lifestyle horticulture, which has more ramifications and global presence. The global lifestyle horticulture is about $3 billion worth of business, which comprises of many segments like cut flowers, cut greens, pot plants, arboriculture, tubgrass, essential oils, fillers, amenity horticulture, environmental horticulture, plug plants, so on and so forth. And out of that, cut flower trade is alone is about $40 billion, and which is contributed mostly by the advanced nations from the western part of the world, with major shares coming from US, Japan, Germany, UK, and Canada. The clamor for floriculture is primarily because of these numbers, the amount of money that is involved in terms of trade. If you look at the major production and consumption centers across the world, most of the production centers are located in the southern hemisphere. And the consumption centers are in the northern hemisphere, mostly concentrated in Europe and US. India is one of the contributors in terms of providing the flowers to the global markets, albeit for a smaller volumes. If you look at the global trade per se, these are the major producers and the volume of trade that they do in terms of exporting of flowers. Nearly 50 to 60% of the global trade is regulated by Netherlands, with about $3,681 million US dollars, followed by Colombia, Ecuador, Kenya, Ethiopia, and rest of the countries. So these are mostly located in Europe, North America, Asia, Africa, and South America. And if you look at the major consumers, the situation is different. US is the major consumer, followed by Germany, UK, Netherlands, France, Russia, and so on and so forth. So this is the global pattern of exports and import of the flowers, which speaks volumes when you look at the numbers. The volumes of the trade that happens is very, very impressive. Just to tell you as an example, one flower auction center located in Aalsmeer, that is Royal Flora Holland, is equivalent to about 242 football fields. That is the size of that particular facility, with about 50,000 square meters of cold storage, 35 auction blocks, having about 1.2 lakh of transactions per day. And the quantum of business that is generated in a year is about $4.6 billion euros per annum, which is from one individual flower auction center. There are a number of flower auction centers located in the Europe like this. And if you look at the number of crops that they handle, they are innumerable. And chrysanthemum, if you take for example, as the specific case for today's webinar topic, it's about 1.2 million stems per annum. These are the glimpses of the flower auction center that I mentioned, highly automated, and it is very, very huge in terms of its size and the logistics, the volume that is handled every year for different commodities. Even though we are having so much of strength and so much of volumes of business, the impact due to COVID is also felt by the industry very badly. Our sector is also badly affected because, as rightly mentioned by Padma Shri Brahm Singh sir, that the major social, cultural, and religious functions were stopped. Entire production supply chain got standstill. Farmers were unable to market their produce because everything was shut. And out of desperation, they discarded flowers in large scale. And this situation was not unique to India. Across the world, things have happened like this. And I have given a specific example here where there was a specific campaign by the Aalsmeer Flower Auction Center that I have shown you. They have posted very disturbing images of discarding of flowers with a hashtag of buy flowers, not toilet paper during the early period of lockdown. So this is a major impact that the industry suffered across the world, but we have a lot of potential to get back into the business. During the COVID period, I'm happy to state that the Directorate of Floriculture Research, with the help of all ASRP centers, we have developed a national advisory for floriculture farmers to take care of the crop, that what they could retain, and also convert them into value-added products. We have also done impact analysis and way forward, and which were recognized, well recognized by the FAO, which adopted our advisory that what we have prepared for developing a subsectoral advisories on floriculture by FAO. In India, when you talk about floriculture is a very small segment. About 3.2 lakh hectares of floriculture activity happens in the country. Maybe this is equivalent to one particular cereal or pulse crop if you look at the total area under cultivation. but the amount of trade and the amount of people that it takes care of is huge, because many small and marginal farmers, they participate in floriculture in spite of having sustenance farming for cultivation of cereals, pulses, and oilseeds. We produce about 19 million tons of loose flowers and 8.2 million tons of cut flowers. And why it is so? Because the floriculture per se is an Indian culture. We have a domestic, strong domestic market because we are 1.3 billion strong. And if you look at our ratio of young versus old population, we are relatively young. Nearly 65% of the population is less than 35 years old. And because of the expanding incomes and surplus income, which can be spent on others rather than food and staples, that particular population is increasing, and saying it with flowers, the habit of saying it with flowers is also increasing. So therefore, we have a lot of potential to contribute to the economy, where Indian economy is looking for reaching 5 trillion economy in the years to come. And because of the COVID or even otherwise, a lot of electronic or internet-based platforms have come up for business. Business to business, business to consumer, online sales are now very active. And this all happened because of the proactive policies of Government of India from time to time to promote floriculture. And if you look at the exports, we export about $82 million worth of floricultural produce to different parts of the world. And the USA is the major consumer, as for any of the, across all the global nations. And our export basket mostly comprises of fresh flowers and dry flowers, foliage, and so on and so forth. And interestingly, dry flowers are the major component, which contributes about 60 to 70% of our exports. And we also import a lot of orchids, tulips, and iris, proteas, and calla lily from different parts of the world. India is a country which is going to be a might in the making. International Visionary Project report on ornamental horticulture states that in coming years, India is going to be a major spender. In 2010, India ranks nowhere among the top 10. In 2020, it is likely to be in the position of third place with 3.3 billion pounds of middle class consumption and spending, which is going to increase to first position by 2030. So India has a huge potential in terms of developing trade and also the production of all the commodities, and floriculture is not left alone. These are the projections for ornamental horticulture during 2019 January. So let me focus on the topic of today, that is futuristic uses. We all know that chrysanthemums are widely used for cut flowers, loose flowers, and pot mums. This is the traditional use of chrysanthemums that we all know. And we also know that chrysanthemums are widely used for making herbal teas, chrysanthemum tea, chrysanthemum salad, pickled petals, and preserves are some of the products which are being made out of chrysanthemums. And one more vital segment that is contributed from chrysanthemums is the essential oils. Chrysanthemum essential oils, though they are not primary essential oils, but this essential oil acts as a base to make finer aromas and fragrances by forming the base, just like geranium oil and marigold oil. See, the major components of the essential oils that it produces are listed here for the benefit of the audience, and that percentage ranges from 0.2 to 0.8%, and in some of the cases it is almost 14% of essential oils, different constituents of essential oils. Based on these constituents, the typical aroma of the chrysanthemums is being felt. And it is widely used as a culinary delicacy across the world, mostly in the Oriental countries, China, Japan, Korea, and also some of the South Asian nations, where they dress with many number of cheeses, sesame, and many others, which I have listed here for the interest of the audience. It is widely used as a vegetable, especially the leaves. Friends, we also know that the chrysanthemum is also one of the major contributors for the development of these pyrethroids. Chrysanthemum cinerarifolium and coccineum, these are the two species which are rich in pyrethrum. Based on the chemical character of that, a number of synthetic pyrethroids were developed, and they are famous even today for the control of major insect pests. Value addition is also a avenue in which chrysanthemums can be very widely used whenever there is a glut or there is an excessive production. They can be dried and made into a number of value-added products, including some jewelry. Jams and pickles are also made out of chrysanthemum petals in Oriental countries, as I mentioned previously. Electroplating is one where the chrysanthemum flowers are plated with gold to make them into jewelry. Handmade paper is one, which is one of the very sought after kind of a stationery for many of the corporates, which is regularly being used by the corporate sector. And while we are at IRA, Dr. JANKIRAM has taken the initiative to establish a handmade paper machinery in the division to prepare a number of value-added products like this. And the new age uses, if we are talking about, that I'm going to focus more here for some time. It is on nutraceutical value of these flowers. Chrysanthemum flowers were known to regulate the high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, fever, cold, headache, dizziness, and swelling, and treat prostate cancer with other herbs. This is documented in the indigenous technical knowledge and also by conducting clinical trials in some of the countries. The developments in this particular sector I would like to share. When we talk of pigments, the floriculture has the greatest advantage by having almost all the colors. The colors can be extracted from fruits and vegetables, but if you are in that case, only one kind of a particular pigment can be extracted, either from grapes or carrots, only one pigment can be extracted. But in case of flowers, the range is enormous. If you take roses or chrysanthemums, we have almost all the colors. And these colors are primarily because of the pigments that I have listed here, which contribute the typical color to these flowers. And these pigments, each pigment has its own unique nutraceutical properties, primarily because of they act as antioxidants and neutralize the free radicals that are produced in the human body. And this is based on in vitro, in vivo, epidemiological, and clinical trials that are conducted in different parts of the world on the pigments that come from different plant parts: anthocyanins, betalains, carotenoids, and chlorophylls. In case of chrysanthemum, anthocyanins and carotenoids are the two important pigments which are expressed depending on the color of the variety. All pinks and reds are contributed by anthocyanins, yellow, orange, and other colors, they come from the carotenoids. In this COVID pandemic situation, improvement of or boosting of immune system has attained a lot of significance, which I highlighted in this particular table to draw your attention that these pigments have a greater role in boosting the immune system of individuals, which is very much essential in this particular situation that what we are going through because of the pandemic. These free radicals are formed in almost every body part, and these needs to be neutralized to address the diseases or ailments that affect each organ in our body. Immune system boosting is one primary function now, and also the lungs. To take care of the lung related diseases needs to be addressed. Therefore, the pigments from plant parts is very, very important. Anthocyanins from chrysanthemum or any other plant, they have a specific role in taking care of many ailments. Here they are known for antiviral activity, which is very much essential in this particular scenario. Carotenoids, as I mentioned, they boost the immune system and also help in regulating a number of ailments, including cardiovascular diseases, and also taking care of the eyesight of human beings. We all know the example of isolating and then preparing as capsules of lutein pigment from marigold across the country, and also we are one of the good exporters of lutein from India, which is extracted from marigold. So chrysanthemums are also rich in carotenoids and luteins, zeaxanthin and xanthophylls, which can be very well exploited for commercial exploitation. I will also share my own experiences of working with nutraceuticals in terms of expressing these pigments in vitro conditions. We succeeded in developing protocols for in vitro expression of these pigments in case of roses initially, and based on the success of that, we expanded to chrysanthemums. This is a case study which I'm going to share with you. We have taken a number of varieties which contribute to different colors, and then selected those varieties which produce good amount of pigment in the in vitro conditions. We selected different explants, and based on the response of individual pigment explants, we finally narrowed down to the leaves. The calais which is produced in the in vitro, if you subject it to a number of osmotic stress factors and elicitors, these calais, they start producing the pigments irrespective of the season. We can break the seasonal barriers, and also we can regulate the production of a very specific pigment which can be produced in vitro continuously in bioreactors. This is a success story where we have established the possibility of producing these pigments in vitro conditions by using different treatments. This is cobalt chloride, salicylic acid. So that the new age applications, what I wanted to share with you is that we need to diversify from the old traditional usages, which were primarily based on the flower type, that what I have shown here. Based on the type of these flowers, we used to keep these flowers for different applications, either for spray or standards, for making as exhibits, for exhibitions, so on and so forth. And in the process, a number of organizations, including IHR Bangalore, IARI, NBRI Lucknow, they have produced a large number of varieties which are shown here. Few of them are shown here for the benefit of the audience, to depict that the kind of variability that exists in case of chrysanthemum. It is one of the wonderful crops where a small modification, if you do through either breeding, the conventional hybridization, and also mutation breeding, you get a number of variants. It can be singles, semi-doubles, or doubles with different flower forms that you can see here. Some of them are incurving, some of them are reflexing, some of them are spoon, some of them are quilt. So the range is enormous. I'm happy to share with you that in the same direction, we at ICAR-DFR, we are conducting both traditional hybridization as well as mutation breeding. And we have developed a large number of promising lines which are good for both loose flower purpose, garden purpose, and also the pot moss. And if you look at the global mutant database developed by International Atomic Energy Agency, out of 3,300 mutants that are registered across all the crops, majority come from ornamentals, about 668. And chrysanthemum, again, chrysanthemum is the single largest contributor in terms of number of mutants that are produced across the world. And this is the success story of our own, where we could produce a range of mutants from a single parent, which is Taichin Queen, which is depicted at the bottom, which is an orange colored variety which has given rise to a number of mutants of different color, different flower forms, which you can see here. So the process was like very simple. We irradiated the rooted cuttings, then got the different responses at the vegetative stage. At the higher doses, the mortality was very high, like 10 and 20 grays. And at 30 grays, almost the plants have died, like this. And we have established the LD50 value. Then we irradiated a number of varieties. And this is a classical example where the mutants that are developed in vitro are by isolating the chimeras that are noticed on the mutants. When we subject these plants to irradiation, they give rise to partial and complete mutants, which are otherwise difficult to isolate. what we have developed is we developed protocols for regenerating those ray flow rates which are altered. So this is the protocol that I have depicted here. We can regenerate these ray flow rates and establish the new color that you have found out as a new mutant. This is a new color from the same Thaichin queen variety. It's a pink one. And similarly, we have used this particular technology even to isolate the plants that are generated through hybridization. By using the same technique, we have established a number of varieties like this. This is one more variety that we have established at IRA, Pusa Chitraksha, and Pusa Sona, one more variety from Sadbhavana. So what I want to tell you is, by fusing the traditional methods of breeding and applying the biotechnological tools, we can always succeed in establishing new variability that we come across in the plant systems. These are the close-up views of the 7 varieties that we have developed. And I'm happy to share with you, we are also continuing the same work in ICAR-DFR here. And for the first time in the country, we are using electron beam radiation to induce variability over and above gamma radiation. Gamma rays per se, they have more radioactivity, and electron beam radiation is relatively safe. It doesn't have much of radioactivity when compared to gamma rays. Therefore, we have used it for the first time with the help of RRCIT that is located in Indore to create variability. We are in the process of isolating these mutants through in vitro means. In one more species of chrysanthemum, that is annual chrysanthemum that we all know, we have induced the kind of variability by mutation. What you can see here is by inducing mutations and then getting those plants of different types, different plant forms, flower color, and flower shapes. So is the case in the local type, the yellow local type. When we come back to chrysanthemum, to start with the propagation, we normally propagate them through cuttings, the top cuttings. And also we use the suckers when we want to propagate and establish mother plants, mother blocks. And tissue culture is one of the time-tested method for developing the large population, especially the new plant material that is coming in. So this is how one can propagate them. Take the terminal cuttings, dip in an oxygen solution and put it in a porous medium and continuously keep it in a misting chamber during summer months, that is May, June, when you can create a lot of humidity and then produce good number of these cuttings. In tissue culture, you can also do through in vitro regeneration of or in vitro proliferation of axillary buds, and then produce them en masse and acclimatize them and bring back to the open field conditions. When we talk of new age cultivation in case of chrysanthemum, this is how it happens in advanced nations. Highly robotized machines where they use this kind of machinery for planting the chrysanthemums for production of flowers in the greenhouses. When we are talking about the chrysanthemum production in our country, Tamil Nadu is one of the major producers of loose flowers and cut flowers. In Karnataka, we mostly for loose flowers, cut flowers, and then pot mums. The potted plants are very widely marketed across Karnataka, mostly in Bangalore. So is the case in case of Pune, where pot mums are widely propagated and sold. In Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, mostly the loose flower are more popular. In West Bengal, again, cut flowers in the open field cultivation, Kerala loose flowers, and across the northern plains and hills, mostly the chrysanthemum is grown for cut flowers and as a exhibition plants in the pots. So these are the major production centers in India where they produce a lot of chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemum is a typical photosensitive crop. It is a typical short day plant which requires long days and short nights to get into blooming. Optimum temperature required is about 30 degrees during day and 14 degrees in the night. That is the most ideal temperatures that we require. But what I observed is if the temperatures are low during the nights, the color expression is excellent. The kind of color expression that we see in the northern plains and hills is not to be seen in Pune, because the temperatures in the night are more, around 20 degrees centigrade during the winters. Then soil requirements, we require a rich soil with organic matter, pH around neutral, and EC around preferably less than 1. The media that we normally talk for chrysanthemums, either for greenhouse cultivation or for pot cultivation, needs to hold a lot of water. Good to have water sources so that the yield is good. And salt concentration should be less in terms of sodium, calcium, and chlorine. And it must provide good acreage, and pH should be around 5, and then EC should be less than 1. This kind of plantation systems are very widely used, where you raise the bed for about 30 to 40 centimeters and plant them at close spacings depending on whether it is a standard or a spray. Standards are placed very closely and sprays are given a wider spacing of 30-30 with a bed width of about 1 to 1.6 meters depending on the layout of the greenhouse, by accommodating the plants of about 1 to 1.2 lakhs or 50 to 60,000 plants depending on the spacing. Normally, in case of greenhouse production, we plant them during August, September in order to catch up the winter markets. And mostly we go for rooted cuttings, the top rooted cuttings. Initially, we give a lot of maintain the humidity, especially during August, September. And later on, as the plant grows, you need to provide the staking as well as netting so that the plants do not lodge. This is how we need to continuously raise these nets in order to maintain the orientation of the plant without any bending. And we also need to do a lot of pinching and disbudding whenever we are when we have standards. We need to go for disbudding, and when we have sprays, we need to do pinching so that you get a lot of bushy growth and then you get number of flowers and number of branches. This is one of the famous varieties, Taichin Queen. This is one of the topmost white-colored chrysanthemum variety, that is the snowball. And this is one more unique variety which is grown across the northern plains. And in order to do this, we need to understand primarily what is the photoperiod requirement of a particular crop. This is based on the response period that is standardized for most of the varieties across the world. Initially, they test this particular trait in case of chrysanthemum. Based on this categorization, they plan the production systems based on the number of weeks it takes for blooming after the photoinduction period is introduced. These varieties can be from 8 weeks to 15 weeks. They are different. They are categorized into different groups, and mostly the breeders and the commercial producers, they select those varieties which have requirement of the response group of shorter weeks. We also try to produce these during summers by creating this kind of blackouts during summers. When Dr. Jankiram was head of the department at IRA, we succeeded in getting the response, but because of the very high temperatures, the flower abortion is of very high nature. We also tested the requirement of the shade nets, different colored shade nets. We tried to see what is the influence of these different colored shade nets, especially when you are producing during summers. Black, red, white, and green shade nets were used for chrysanthemum in order to see which one is better for producing during summers. So green and red were equally good to produce good quality chrysanthemums, but high temperatures is an issue where the pigments will be, the flowers will be looking dull because of high temperatures and less expression of the pigments. When we plant them in large scale by raising the beds, and then it is important that we cover them with mulches, whether it is organic or polythene mulches, so that the crop, the microclimate is good near the root zone, and also to eliminate the weeds. It is a very good practice that one can have for commercial applications. This is our research farm in Pune during 2019. Once it blooms, this is the situation. We also have the option of producing the chrysanthemums as pot plants. the natural dwarfs, which are genetically dwarfed, that one can grow in smaller pots, and otherwise one can grow these sprays as potted chrysanthemums for garden display as well as for exhibitions. We also have the option to grow the standards by developing individual varieties. For that to happen, like we normally take about 12-inch pot with the 3 cuttings for each pot. The soil should be of good quality with 5.2 to 6 acidic pH. And varieties can be, as I mentioned, dwarf or medium statured varieties. The nutrition is, it's better to go for water soluble nutrients with the different concentrations for different growth cycles. Pinching, disbudding, and these are the standard practices depending on the standard or spray varieties. We need to follow these practices, and staking and support is required when we are talking about these standards to maintain their erectness. Then we have the option to regulate the growth by applying V9, which is a growth retardant, which is applied as about 2,500 to 5,000 ppm, and also paclobutrazole, which is normally traded as Bonzi at 1 to 3 ppm, to shorten those varieties which otherwise grow tall, so that you maintain those plants in smaller pots as pot mounts. So this is the typical production system of plants in a pot. So once it starts growing, we do repeated pinching so that the sprays produce number of branches, and each branch produces again a number of flower buds. And initially we remove those flower buds as well in order to maintain a particular shape and particular density of branches and buds. So each variety you can produce like this, and there are instances across the world. Single pot can also accommodate about 1,000 flowers. 1,000 flower chrysanthemums are very well displayed in exhibitions across the world. In DFR, we are trying to come out with some solutions for these pot plant industry, primarily because the soil has become a major input constraint for nurseries. Most of the topsoil across all the major nursery hubs is being sent to other states. If you send a shipment of one truck of about 20 tons, 18 tons is soil, and is only 2 tons is only the plant material. So in each truck, this much of topsoil is being sent to other parts of the country, which is making all the nursery hubs to bring the soil from a long distances. Even from Kadiyam, where Dr. JANKIRAM sir is now located in the same district, the situation is the same. They bring these nurseries are located in East Godavari, and they get the soil from West Godavari by transporting about 300 to 400 kilometers. So which adds a huge cost to the potting medium. What we are trying to do is, in order to minimize the cost of this medium, and also to find alternatives for the soil. Normally, coco peat vermiculate perlite is the normal standard medium that is used. What we are trying to do is, because of the input cost that is required in case of coco peat vermiculate and perlite, we need to minimize by using the industrial and agricultural waste as the potting medium. We are trying different kinds of like fly ash, press mud, and agricultural wastage like coconut shells, then spent mushroom mass, and so on and so forth. Rice husk, then wheat husk. All these materials are being now tested for developing a suitable medium which is good for this pot plant industry. So these are the standards that I mentioned, that one need to stake them and then maintain their shape for each pot. These are the different kinds of exhibition varieties that are very famous in case of northern plains. The water that is required should be of good quality. These are good, acceptable, and bad in terms of its EC, sodium, calcium, then bicarbonate and calcium. Based on the concentrations, one need to regulate the water, like the quality, by making suitable amendments. Watering, of course, is a dynamic process depending on the local weather conditions. One needs to regulate that. And if you look at the problems that the crop faces, Like aphids is one of the major insect pests that plagues chrysanthemum cultivation. And during winters, it finds a lot of alternate hosts in terms of mustard and chrysanthemum. There are two types of aphids that affect in case of chrysanthemum. One is the cotton aphid and another is chrysanthemum aphid. And they can be very well managed by judicious mix of both physical, chemical, and biological control by using different strategies. Thrips is another major problem in case of chrysanthemum. These are the typical symptoms that you encounter once a thrips infestation is seen. There are a number of approaches through which one can control these thrips by using chemicals and also the essential oils. One of my colleagues who just completed his PhD has worked on using of essential oils as one of the control measures. The results are yet to be published, so I'm not divulging those, but there is a possibility of using essential oils as one of the control measures for managing the thrips. Mealybugs is one more problem across. It has become a polyphagous across many crops, which can be managed by using different chemicals as well as the botanicals. But borer is one more problem, which is very, very common in case of chrysanthemum. This is how it infects both the bud as well as the flowers. And normally, when it is in the vegetative stage, the larvae, they pupate in the soil. If you dig out around the plant, you will see the caterpillars, which can be controlled by spraying the insecticides at the ground level also when we are spraying on plant. Another major problem in case of chrysanthemum is the phytoplasma. These are phloem living bacteria, which are very difficult to isolate and culture. And once it is infected, there is no other means to retrieve the plants. This is the typical symptoms. Initially, the plants, they produce those leaves which they do not appear to be of chrysanthemum. The total leaf shape and the leaf texture is different from the normal chrysanthemums. And sometimes during severe infection, they turn pink, which is depicted here. As a typical symptom, this is the typical symptom of phytoplasma. The flowers, they turn green. This is the first symptom. And they produce a lot of vegetative or floral buds from the same flower. Here you can see very clearly a flower getting turned into a number of flowers by producing a number of buds. Or it turns into vegetative means by producing a lot of, again, number of leaves and plants per se as well. In case of in DFR, we are trying to identify these phytoplasmas by using the molecular approaches to identify and pinpoint which is the specific phytoplasma that is affecting chrysanthemums. Viruses are also very common in case of chrysanthemum. Typical symptoms which are exhibited here are like this. Stunt viroid produces the symptoms which are very, very clear here. And the mosaic virus produces the mosaic appearance on the leaves. And the chrysanthemum virus B, tobacco mosaic virus, these are very common in case of the potted ornamentals as well as the cut flowers that we see in the greenhouses. As a part of the strategy to identify these, we are developing diagnostics. This is a simple farmer-friendly on-farm diagnostic tool that we are in the process of developing. This is developed initially for the Plantago Asiatic mosaic virus by one of my colleagues in US as part of the training, which we are now implementing for identifying these viruses by using that same technology for different viruses in case of ornamentals and chrysanthemums in particular. As mentioned by Dr. Jankiram, we are also working on the tools and gadgets that are required for floriculture. Friends, as you know, that floriculture sector is very small and none of the major manufacturers are willing to produce anything that is specific to floriculture except for lawn mower or so and so forth. We do not have much of machinery. So what we thought is we need to make interventions and then make the lives of the stakeholders easy. During one of our visits to the production centers in Kadiyam, which is one of the major nursery hub as well as floriculture hub, where large number of chrysanthemums are grown and sent across the different states. What we have observed is they take the bottle caps of either Limca or any beer bottle caps. They take these, they bend that in the form of a ring, they wear it onto the thumb, and they use that for plucking the flowers. During this process, they injure the fingers, and most of the harvesters, they have a bloody hands with a lot of blood oozing out of their fingers. This has inspired us to develop a tool which can help them to harvest these flowers without any kind of injury. So this is a simple design, ergonomically designed, and it is a 3D printed flower harvester that we have developed in DFR. This can harvest a number of crops, like either loose flowers or cut flowers, depending on the softness of the stem. When we are talking about the new age production systems, the nutrient film technique came in 1999. This was used initially for chrysanthemums also as a test crop, but later on it did not find favor, primarily because of the involvement of lot of cost involved in the development of production systems. This particular initiative is taken forward by a research foundation located in Netherlands called as Profitien Zwanzig. This particular organization is trying for the last 8 to 10 years to develop the systems for the hydroponic cultivation of chrysanthemum. The problem is that the chrysanthemum is extremely sensitive to chlorine. So whatever the water that we are using, it should be devoid of chlorine. That is what is the findings of this particular group. What they have finally come out with some solutions for developing a particular float and dipping these plants, the cuttings in a 30 centimeter trough, having all the nutrients. Finally, they could succeed last year in developing the production systems of chrysanthemums, but it is expensive in terms of when you compare with the greenhouse production systems and production in open. So maybe as we go by, if the large-scale manufacturing of the infrastructure that is required for the production of these crops under hydroponic systems, the cost may come down and the particular technology may catch up in the years to come. The greatest advantage what the team has documented is that the thrip population, the thrip infestation is very minimum because there is no soil to incubate or hibernate. So friends, as rightly pointed out by Honorable Chairman as well as Honorable Vice Chancellor, that India is now looking forward to become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant in terms of many avenues. Due to the clarion call given by Honorable Prime Minister, that we need to develop our own strengths. So I try to correlate the chrysanthemum crop in developing such kind of an entrepreneurship where one can, the options that are there are, it can be used as a cut flower, one can produce cut flowers, or as a loose flower, or as pot plant for urban population. Herbal teas is one avenue which one can certainly look forward. Value addition that I have shown you in terms of creating a lot of dry flowers and their value-added products. Essential oils is one area. And until unless floriculture enters into the food chain, the kind of importance that the sector deserves will not be having. Primarily because even during the COVID, you must have seen that every person was rushing out only to purchase fruits and vegetables and cereals and pulses. Nobody was looking forward to purchase flowers. The situation is slightly improving now, but initially we were in a very bad shape because no takers. So we need to develop systems through which we can make a qualitative difference by producing these kind of jams, pickles, and also the nutraceutical pigments. The florist, honey is one more area. Chrysanthemum, mostly the single and double varieties are very good pollinizer attractors, mostly the honeybees. In case of DFR, we tried to integrate the honeybee cultivation in the chrysanthemum fields, but after these 3 months, we had to return back those beehives. Otherwise, we don't have the continuous production of flowers across the farms. But if we can make a system where continuous flowers are available in a production system in the farmers' fields, this is one of the very good area where we can have a niche honey production from chrysanthemum fields. Plug plants for nursery, and then producing these flower plants in plugs, and then producing and distributing to number of farmers. This is one enterprise that anybody can think of. So this is what I thought of in terms of becoming self-reliant, and maybe we can also think of introducing chrysanthemums in the vertical farming systems. This is just now it is picking up in other parts of the world. Maybe in India also we need to try, so that at least for 3 months we can bring colorful foliage into the vertical systems, colorful flowers into the vertical system by growing mostly the PADMas, which are genetically dwarf. We do celebrate specific chrysanthemum week during December, January in DFR. During 2018, these are the glimpses. Last year we had in the same period in 2019, we have about 150 chrysanthemum varieties. This is the experimental, like these are the research blocks that we are developing. And I'm very fortunate to have our Padma Shri Brahma Singh sir as the chairman of our RSC, who has guided us and then helped us to develop this kind of infrastructure. And also Dr. JANKIRAM as the ADG was the motivating and guiding force for us to develop an institute of reckon in the years to come. We have like this a number of crops that we have introduced to develop the new varieties: gladiolus, winter annuals, aster, marigold, roses, spider lily, so on and so forth. So thank you so much for your kind attention, and I look forward for any clarifications or suggestions.
Mr. Shiv, whether some questions are there?
We got appreciation, so many comments on appreciation.
Not comment, well, questions.
Yeah, did you get any specific question?
No question. Good. Anyway, those who have got question can send it, either of us, me, Dr. Prasad, Dr. Jankiram, or Shiv. They will be answered in due course. With these words, I request Dr. Jankiram ji to do his job. Moderation.
Yeah. At the outset, I congratulate and compliment today's speaker, Dr. K.V. Prasad, Director, ICAR, Directorate of Floriculture Research, for his outstanding presentation, taking us to the world of chrysanthemums. As from his presentation, it's very clear that he brought many issues other than just cultivating the chrysanthemums for loose flower, cut flower, or pot mums. I think the aspect which he has also talked about, the COVID situation, the impact that it has made on floriculture industry, and also the coverage on the floriculture at global level. And it is very interesting that he has covered on other aspects of the chrysanthemum cultivation. When we are talking about this, Atmanirbharta, so now few issues that he has brought about the chrysanthemum, even other species, like the use as the chrysanthemum tea. Of course, in some of the countries like Malaysia, the chrysanthemum tea is very much used. And when we are talking about the during particularly this COVID-19 pandemic situation, now there is a great demand, particularly for the fruits, vegetables, and also the health drinks. So in this situation, I think we need to exploit other than uses for normal uses. It's taken for cultivation, and of course he also brought about the many uses as insecticides. He has given the examples of the species Cineraria, and then Coccineum, then essential oils, and some of the research that has been done for extracting the nutraceuticals. And one very good observation in his presentation, he brought out the uses as antiviral properties, because nowadays we are all talking about the immune boosting products which are antiviral. And of course he also said about the antimicrobial, then developing the immune system. So this is really when we are talking about the futuristic farming, I think these aspects are very important that he has covered. Also, some of the problems, the challenges of growing chrysanthemum, particularly the insects, pests, diseases, and major now some of the growers also we have seen, and that is the phytoplasma. And I'm happy that for the benefit of the farming community and at CADIUM, a special brainstorming session was conducted by the DFR Pune at CADIUM on phytoplasma and its management. And also I'm very happy some of the new initiatives that the DFR has taken, the farm level diagnostic, particularly for the viruses. Now there are many examples in other crops like potato, but for floriculture crops, there are not much work has been done in this aspect. So I think this initiative is really welcome. And even now when we are talking about the mechanization, so even the initiative taken to develop the plucker, definitely it will reduce the labor use because the harvesting, particularly the loose flowers, which is a major component. And also he brought the technique, the nutrient film technique. When we are talking about the vertical farming, I think this aspect is also very informative. And since he has talked about the honey, making honey, now even our Honorable Prime Minister is given very importance to this honey mission also. And I think this aspect is to be studied particularly for this crop. And since he brought out this issue, I just would like to show some of the products which were developed by the students of experiential learning program under the faculty of entomology. This is the black beetle shoe polish that is developed from the bee wax, because many other products also can be developed. Even we can explore of developing the hand sanitizers. So there are so many avenues that he has opened up many other issues also. And my request, Dr. Prasad, is to particularly we need to concentrate on photoinsensitive varieties, range of varieties in different colors for the benefit of the farmers who are taking up this cultivation under open field conditions. So we need to expand the range of varieties and colors. Of course, we have developed one of the best varieties, photoinsensitive variety at IRI. I think in this direction, the research needs to be intensified. Then other aspect, I request that, we need to develop our own indigenous varieties of chrysanthemum for low reaction time. We don't have varieties for this purpose. And also, I request that research may be taken up to develop our own varieties for polyhouse conditions, because many of these varieties are imported, and when we are talking about the local, I think the institute should take this initiative and develop our own varieties for different purposes, though there are many varieties. Even the National Botanical Research Institute, NBRI, has done outstanding job, and Dr. S.K. Dattaji and Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Banerjee, they have really contributed a lot to develop many varieties of chrysanthemum, and we need to remember the contributions of the NBRI, Lucknow, and of course IHR, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, Bangalore, and also there are many varieties developed by different SAUs. The Tamil Nadu Agriculture University also has done very good work, outstanding work in standardization of some of the production technologies, and also they were the part of under NATP. They have standardized under polyhouse conditions the cultivation, and of course I think these are the few issues that I just wanted to flag, and I think with these few words, I once again thank particularly Dr. Padma Shri, Dr. Brahm Singh Saab, for taking this really initiative for floriculture sector, which is not paid much attention, and which is again a very important area. I think this series will definitely bring out much change for the floriculture sector. And thank you very much, sir. And once again, congratulations to Dr. K.V. Prasad and Shivji for coordinating this program. And with this very good beginning of this today's topic, the presentation, we will be having many other very interesting crops covered in coming days. And thank you very much once again, and be safe, and thank you very much.
Okay. I think the questions are there. Number of questions are there. Dr. Prasad, we will be bothering you. We will forward all the questions. But since this is the first talk, please answer at least 2 questions before going. The first question is there on the screen. For culinary purpose, which variety may be used? If you can suggest now or later, choice is yours.
Chrysanthemum, sir, as I mentioned, it is a delicacy in Oriental countries like the Korea, Japan, then China, where they use Chrysanthemum morifolium and Chrysanthemum coronarium, both the annual chrysanthemum leaves and chrysanthemum that what we normally see, morifolium. Both the species, they use it extensively as a delicacy there. The leaves are used for making number of dishes. Mostly salads.
Okay. Next question, Shiv. Next question. The next question is from Dr. Pooja Gupta. This time Chrysanthemum Week will be held at, is a information only. This time Chrysanthemum Week will be held at Pune. I think she is asking whether the Chrysanthemum Week will take place or not this year.
we'll certainly do it, Pooja, but the issue is that we have scaled down our operations to a great extent during the COVID, because during the major growing time, that is from June to August, most of our laborers were, they are migrant laborers. They left our farm. So with great difficulty, we have maintained.
It's okay.
We are
It's okay,
trying to
sir.
do it, but with the
Yes.
lesser magnitude.
You have already answered, sir. Small one. Third question also, which you have already answered, but even then, to satisfy the Akhilesh Kumar ji, which alkaloid responsible for pest management in chrysanthemum? Though you have told during the talk, but even then you tell it again.
Yeah. The alkaloid responsible is pyrethrin, right? This is extracted from the species what I mentioned, Chrysanthemum cinerarifolium and coccineum. This was discovered way back about 20 years back, 20 to 25 years back. And based on the molecular structure of this, a number of synthetic pyrethroids were developed. Alethrine, alpha-methrin, which are very widely used for even in the domestic situation to control mosquitoes and houseflies and cockroaches.
Thank you. So with these words, I think rest of the questions, Shivji, you can forward to Prasadji, who would love to answer to the questionnaire.
Certainly,
So,
sir.
with these words, thank you so much, Dr. Prasad, for befitting inaugural talk
Thank you,
on
sir. Thank you.
this chrysanthemum, very befitting one, and fantastic moderation by Dr. T. Jankiram, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and fantastic job without any interruption. Mr. SIV has conducted the webinar. I think the speaker is satisfied, moderator is also satisfied, and I'm more than satisfied. So
Great,
with
sir.
these words, I think viewers, we will meet you again on Wednesday with more information on floriculture. Let us keep the flag flying of floriculture. Thank you so much and celebrate the festivals, whatever it is. Good luck. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Good
Stay
night.
safe.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.